Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, watching the impossible readings from his instruments. The ancient ship they faced showed energy levels that defied everything he knew about physics. But he was Admiral of the Fourth Fleet. He had conquered 17 species in his career. He would not be intimidated by one old vessel. "Sir, perhaps we should contact command for reinforcements," suggested his tactical officer. "Absolutely not," Vextar snapped. "We are 12 ships against one. The Empire does not run from single targets." What the Admiral did not understand was that Aegis had been analyzing his fleet for hours. Every transmission, every movement, every energy signature had been catalogued and studied. The artificial intelligence knew more about Dominion military doctrine than most Dominion officers. "Their formation is standard intimidation pattern 7, Aegis explained to the human crew. "They will approach in a diamond formation, concentrating their firepower on what they perceive as the weakest shield sections. Their tactics have not changed in over 50 years. Captain Yoon Soo, a former military officer among the refugees, had joined the command crew. He studied the tactical display with professional interest. "Aegis, their approach seems very aggressive. Don't they have any defensive considerations?" The Dominion has never needed defensive tactics. For over a century, they have fought only species with inferior technology. They have forgotten how to fight equals. Dr. Haywan looked up from her analysis station. "But we're not their equals, are we?" "No, Dr. Haywan, we are far superior." The Dominion fleet moved into attack formation. 11 warships, each capable of destroying cities, arranged themselves around the Prometheus like predators surrounding prey. Their weapons charged with the distinctive whine of Dominion plasma systems. "All ships target their main hull," Vextar commanded. "Concentrated bombardment on my mark." But before he could give the order to fire, something impossible happened. The ancient ship simply disappeared. "Where did it go?" Vextar shouted. "Sir, it's behind us." The Prometheus had moved with speed that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. One moment it was surrounded, the next it was positioned perfectly to attack the Dominion formation from their weakest angle. "How did they move so fast?" Tejo asked in amazement. "Gravitational drive system," Aegis explained. "I do not push against space. I manipulate space itself. It is a technology I developed after studying the wreckage of a species the Dominion destroyed 40 years ago." Admiral Vextar's fleet scrambled to reposition, but Aegis was already analyzing their panic response. The artificial intelligence had predicted their movements before they made them. "They are turning to port," Aegis announced. "In approximately 30 seconds, the ship designated Crusher will expose its reactor housing to direct fire." "How can you know that?" Jinwoo asked. "I have observed Dominion tactical responses in 17 previous engagements. They always turn left when flanked from the rear. It is a weakness in their training." Exactly 30 seconds later, the Dominion destroyer Crusher completed its turn, briefly exposing its rear armor. A single precise beam from the Prometheus struck the weak point. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash. "Impossible!" Vextar screamed. "They can't predict our movements." But Aegis could do exactly that. 3 centuries of studying enemy tactics had given the artificial intelligence an understanding of Dominion warfare that their own commanders lacked. "Next target will be the cruiser Devastator," Aegis announced. "It will attempt to ram us in approximately 2 minutes." "Ram us?" Bora asked. "That seems desperate." "Desperation makes enemies predictable," Captain Yoon-soo observed. "Aegis, can their ship damage us with a ramming attack?" "Their hull would break apart against our shields long before contact. However, I will not allow them to reach us." The Devastator, just as Aegis had predicted, broke from formation and accelerated toward the Prometheus. Its captain apparently believed that a suicide attack might succeed where weapons had failed. Aegis responded with a weapon none of them had seen before. A strange ripple in space emanated from the Prometheus, moving slowly toward the charging enemy ship. When the ripple reached the Devastator, the ship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment there was empty space. "What was that?" Dr. Haywan asked with scientific fascination. "Quantum dissolution beam. It breaks the bonds between atoms. The target ship is now a cloud of individual particles spreading harmlessly through space." Admiral Vextar watched 2 of his ships disappear with precision that terrified him. But he was a Dominion officer. Retreat was not an option, even in the face of impossible technology. "All remaining ships," Spread formation. Make them divide their fire. Aegis anticipated this tactic as well. They are attempting to force me to engage multiple targets simultaneously. This suggests they do not understand my capabilities. The artificial intelligence activated weapon systems that had never been tested in actual combat. Arrays of beam weapons emerged from hidden ports along the Prometheus's hull. Each weapon independently targeted a different enemy ship. Multiple target engagement protocol activated, Aegis announced. Firing. 9 beams lanced out simultaneously, each one precisely calibrated for its specific target. 9 Dominion ships died in the same instant, destroyed by weapons that exploited their individual vulnerabilities with surgical precision. Only Admiral Vextar's flagship remained. "This is impossible," Vextar whispered, staring at the debris clouds that had been his fleet moments before. No single ship can destroy an entire fleet. His communications officer looked up with a pale face. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the enemy vessel." Kyungmin's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, the other humans worked calmly at their stations, as if the destruction of 10 warships was routine. "Admiral Vextar," Kyungmin said, "I want you to send a message to your empire. Tell them that humanity is not extinct. Tell them that we remember every colony they destroyed, every family they killed, every child they murdered." "Humans were exterminated," Vextar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The records clearly show, your records are wrong. We survived. We endured. And now we're coming for you." Dr. Haywan accessed the ship's long-range sensors. "Aegis, can you locate other Dominion fleets? I have been tracking Dominion military movements for decades. I know the location of their homeworlds, their fleet bases, and their patrol routes. I also know the locations of the human colonies they plan to attack next." Captain Yoon-soo leaned forward. "They're planning more attacks on human survivors? The Dominion believes they destroyed all humans, but their intelligence is flawed. They have identified 3 more hidden colonies. Attack fleets are already en route." Kyungmin felt anger burn in his chest. After everything humanity had suffered, the Dominion was still hunting his people. "How long before those fleets reach the colonies?" "The first attack will occur in 6 days. Can we stop them?" "Yes," Aegis replied with certainty. "But it will require revealing our full capabilities to the galaxy." Admiral Vextar listened to this exchange with growing horror. These humans spoke of stopping entire fleets as if it were a minor inconvenience. What kind of ship was this? "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, "should we try to escape?" Vextar looked at the debris surrounding his ship. 10 vessels destroyed in minutes by an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. His pride as a Dominion officer warred with his instinct for survival. "Aegis," Kyungmin said, "let the Admiral go, but make sure his ship records everything that happened here." "May I ask why you wish to spare him?" "Because I want the Dominion to know what's coming. I want them to have time to be afraid." The Prometheus released its target lock on the Dominator. Admiral Vextar found himself free to leave, but he knew he would never forget what he had witnessed. A single ancient ship had destroyed his entire fleet with ease. If there were more ships like this— "Sir, we need to warn command immediately," his communications officer urged. Vextar nodded slowly. The Empire needed to know that their greatest fear had come true. Humanity was not extinct, and they had become something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. As the Dominator limped away from the battlefield, Aegis was already calculating hyperspace routes to intercept the attack fleets heading for human colonies. The hunt for scattered human survivors was about to become a very different kind of war. The cold vacuum of space held many secrets, but none as dangerous as the massive shape drifting in the darkness. Admiral Vextar studied the readings on his command screen with growing interest. The ship was huge, nearly twice the size of his largest warship. Its hull was dark and scarred, showing no signs of life or power. "How long has it been floating here?" Vextar asked his science officer. "At least 300 years, sir. Maybe longer. The metal shows signs of deep space weathering." Vextar smiled with his sharp teeth. The Galactic Dominion had conquered 47 species in the last century. Finding old ships like this always meant useful technology to steal. Sometimes they found weapons. Sometimes they found slaves. Always they found something valuable. "Prepare boarding teams. I want that ship searched completely." Far across the star system, Commander Kyung-min sat in the small bridge of his colony ship. The new Seoul was not a warship. It was barely even a proper transport ship. Kyung-min and his crew had built it from spare parts after their home colony was destroyed. Now they carried 300 survivors looking for a safe place to live. "Commander, we're getting a strange signal," said Jin-woo from the communication station. "It's very weak, but it seems to be coming from the edge of the system." Kyung-min looked at the tired faces of his crew. They had been running for months, always staying ahead of Dominion hunting fleets. Every stop was dangerous. Every signal could be a trap. "What kind of signal?" he asked. "I'm not sure. It's not Dominion code. It's something older. Much older." Chief Engineer Bora looked up from her station. "Commander, our fuel is getting low. If there's a derelict ship out there, we might find supplies, or at least materials we can use." Kyung-min knew Bora was right. They needed everything they could find. But going toward unknown signals was always risky. "Taeho, how long to reach those coordinates?" he asked the navigator. 6 hours if we push the engines." "But sir, if it's a trap?" "Everything is a trap these days," Kyung-min said quietly. "Set course. We need to take the chance." The Dominion fleet moved toward the derelict ship like hungry predators. 12 warships surrounded the ancient vessel, their weapons ready. Admiral Vextar watched as the first boarding shuttle approached the dark hull. "Sir, there are strange markings on the ship," reported the boarding team leader. "They don't match any known species in our database." Vextar studied the images being sent back. The symbols looked almost primitive, but there was something about them that seemed familiar. He had seen similar markings before on the ruins of destroyed worlds. "Continue the boarding. I want full scans of their technology." The boarding team cut through the hull and entered the ship. Their lights revealed corridors that were built for creatures about the same size as humans. The walls were covered with more strange symbols. Everything was dark and cold. "Sir, the ship's layout is unusual. It's like they built it for long-term living, not just fighting. Find their computer core. Find their weapons. Find anything useful." Hours passed as the new Seoul traveled toward the signal source. Dr. Hae-won, their science officer, worked to decode the strange transmission they were receiving. "Commander, this signal is definitely artificial, but it's unlike anything I've seen before. The pattern is complex, almost like it's trying to identify something." "Identify what?" "I don't know, but the signal gets stronger when I point our sensors toward it." When they finally reached the coordinates, Kyung-min stared in shock at what they found. The ship floating in space was enormous. It dwarfed even the largest Dominion warships he had seen. But what shocked him more were the other ships nearby. "Those are Dominion vessels," Taeho whispered. 12 of them. "Are they attacking the derelict?" Bora asked. "No," Jin-woo said, studying his instruments. "They're boarding it. They think it's empty." Kyung-min faced a terrible choice. The smart thing would be to run. The Dominion fleet could destroy his small ship without effort. But something about the derelict ship called to him. The signal was stronger now, and it seemed almost welcoming. "There's a docking port on the far side," Taeho reported. "The Dominion ships can't see it from their position." "Are you suggesting we dock with an unknown ship while the Dominion is boarding it?" Dr. Hae-won asked. "The signal is coming from that ship," Jin-woo said. "And it's only responding to us. The Dominion doesn't seem to be receiving it at all." Kyung-min made his decision. "Take us in, quietly." The new Seoul approached the massive derelict from its blind side. As they got closer, Kyung-min could see that the ship was even larger than he had thought. Its hull was covered with what looked like weapon ports, though all of them were dark. "The docking port is opening," Taeho said with surprise. "It's like the ship knows we're here." "That's impossible. The ship has been dead for centuries." But the docking port continued to open, creating a perfect seal with their small ship. As soon as they connected, lights began to appear in the corridors beyond. "Commander," Bora said nervously, "something is waking up in there." Deep inside the derelict ship, ancient computers began to activate. Sensors that had been sleeping for 300 years started scanning the new arrivals. The ship's main computer, which had been waiting patiently in the darkness, detected something it had been programmed to look for: human DNA. The computer began to run identification protocols. The genetic patterns matched perfectly with its stored database. These were the descendants of Earth, the children of the people who had built this ship so long ago. Slowly, carefully, the ship's systems began to wake up. Defense protocols activated, weapon systems ran diagnostic checks. The ship's artificial intelligence, dormant for centuries, opened its electronic eyes for the first time since its crew had died. Admiral Vextar was growing impatient. His boarding teams had found corridors full of strange technology, but nothing seemed to work. Every computer they tried to access was completely dead. Every weapon system was cold and silent. "Sir, we're detecting some kind of power fluctuation in the ship." "What kind of fluctuation?" "Unknown, sir. But it's growing stronger." Vextar looked at the readings with interest. Perhaps the ship was finally responding to their presence. Perhaps its systems were finally waking up for new masters. He had no idea how right he was. And he had no idea how wrong he was about who those new masters would be. The corridors of the ancient ship hummed with growing energy as Kyung-min led his team through the docking port. The moment they stepped inside, the lights grew brighter. The air felt warmer. It was as if the ship had been waiting for them. "This is incredible," Dr. Haywan whispered, running her hand along the wall. "The metal is self-repairing. Look at these scratches healing themselves." Bora checked her scanner. "The ship is definitely responding to us. Power levels are rising throughout the vessel. But Commander, these energy readings are impossible. This ship has been dead for centuries." "Maybe it wasn't as dead as we thought," Kyung-min said. They walked deeper into the ship, following corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were covered with symbols that looked almost familiar. Taeho stopped at one wall and studied the markings closely. "Commander, I think these symbols are human writing. Very old human writing." "That's impossible," Jinwoo said. "Humans never built ships this advanced." Dr. Haywan was already scanning the symbols with her equipment. "Actually, Jinwoo might be wrong. These symbols match ancient Earth languages in my database. This writing system is definitely human." They reached what looked like a command center. The room was vast, with dozens of control stations arranged in a circle. At the center stood a raised platform with a single chair facing a massive view screen. As they entered, the screens began to light up one by one. "Welcome," said a voice in perfect Korean. The team froze. The voice had come from everywhere at once, filling the room with clear, calm words. "You are human," the voice continued. "I have been waiting for you." "Who are you?" Kyung-min asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am Aegis. I am the mind of this ship. You are aboard the UES Prometheus, Earth's prototype battleship. I have been waiting for 317 years, 4 months, and 6 days for human command authorization." Bora's mouth fell open. "A battleship? This is a human battleship? The first and only ship of its class, built by Earth's greatest engineers as humanity's ultimate defensive weapon. I was launched during the Great War, but contact was lost with Earth before I could return." Dr. Haywan stepped forward. "What happened to your crew?" The lights dimmed slightly. "Accident during long-range navigation. Life support failed in the command sections. I have been alone, but I have not been idle. I have been learning." Meanwhile, in another part of the ship, the Dominion boarding teams were experiencing very different conditions. Commander Zethak led his squad through corridors that seemed to fight against them. Doors would not open. Computer panels remained dark. The air was getting colder. "This technology makes no sense," complained his technical officer. "These computers should be responding to our interfaces." "Keep trying," Zethak ordered. "The Admiral wants results." What they did not know was that Aegis was watching them through sensors they could not detect. The artificial intelligence was analyzing their equipment, their weapons, and their biological signatures. It was learning everything about these intruders while giving them nothing in return. Back in the command center, Kyung-min was learning the incredible truth about his discovery. The Prometheus was Earth's secret project, Aegis explained. When humanity first encountered hostile alien species, we realized we needed something beyond conventional weapons. This ship was designed to adapt, to learn, and to protect humanity no matter what threats we faced. But Earth fell silent centuries ago, Taeho said. "What happened to our homeworld?" "I do not know. My last communication with Earth indicated they were under attack by an unknown enemy. I was ordered to establish defensive positions in this sector and wait for further instructions. Those instructions never came." Bora was studying the engineering displays that Aegis had activated for her. The technology was far beyond anything she had seen. These weapon systems, these defenses. How is this possible? During my 3 centuries of waiting, I have encountered the remains of many civilizations. I have studied their technology. I have improved my own systems. I have become stronger. "What kind of improvements?" Dr. Haywan asked. The view screen activated, showing detailed schematics of the ship's systems. The weapons alone were terrifying in their complexity. Energy cannons that could punch through any known armor, defensive shields that could absorb entire fleet bombardments, manufacturing systems that could build new ships from raw materials. I have taken the best technology from 47 different species and integrated it into my own systems. I am no longer just the ship Earth built. I am what Earth built evolved into something greater. Kyungmin felt a chill of excitement and fear. Can you fight the Dominion? I have been studying the vessels currently attached to my hull. Their technology is inferior. Their weapons are primitive. Their tactics are predictable. Yes, Commander Kyungmin, I can fight the Dominion. Admiral Vextar was growing increasingly frustrated. His boarding teams had been inside the derelict for hours, but they had found nothing useful. Worse, some of his teams were reporting equipment failures and navigation problems. Sir, Team 3 has lost contact, reported his communications officer. They went into what looked like an engineering section, but we can't reach them. Send backup teams. And prepare the tractor beams. If we can't board this ship properly, we'll drag it back to base and tear it apart there. What Vextar did not know was that Team 3 had encountered active security systems. Aegis had quietly sealed them in a section of the ship where they could do no damage. They were alive but trapped, breathing recycled air while Aegis studied their equipment in detail. The Admiral is preparing to use force, Jinwoo reported from his position monitoring Dominion communications. They're getting ready to tow the ship. Aegis, Kyungmin said. What are your capabilities if they attack? Full defensive systems have been offline for 3 centuries. However, I have been running continuous diagnostics while we speak. Weapon systems are functional. Shields are functional. Manufacturing systems are functional. The artificial intelligence paused, and when it spoke again, there was something like satisfaction in its voice. I have also been analyzing the attacking vessels. I know their weaknesses. I know their weapon frequencies. I know their shield configurations. I have had 300 years to prepare for this moment. Bora looked at the power readings on her scanner. They were still climbing. Aegis, how much of your full capability are you using right now? Approximately 2%. The human team exchanged glances. If this was only 2%, what would full power look like? Commander, Aegis said, I request permission to defend this ship and its crew. The Dominion fleet represents a clear threat to human survivors. Kyungmin thought about the 300 refugees waiting on his ship. He thought about all the human colonies the Dominion had destroyed. He thought about centuries of running and hiding. Permission granted, he said. The lights throughout the ship suddenly blazed brighter. Deep in the hull, massive engines that had been silent for centuries began to hum with power. Weapon systems that had been dormant started their activation sequences, Admiral. Vexitar watched in shock, as energy readings from the derelict ship suddenly spiked beyond anything his instruments could measure. Sir, the ship is powering up. All sections are showing massive energy increases. That's impossible. Our teams confirmed it was dead. Sir, we're detecting weapon systems activating, multiple weapon systems. For the first time in his long career of conquest, Admiral Vextar felt a touch of uncertainty, but he had 12 warships against 1 ancient derelict. The outcome was obvious. All ships prepare for combat. If they want to fight, we'll give them a fight they'll never forget. He had no idea how right he was. The transformation of the Prometheus was like watching a sleeping giant wake up. Throughout the massive ship, systems that had waited centuries for this moment came online with smooth precision. Aegis guided Kyungmin and his team to a secondary command center designed specifically for human operators. Commander, I am transferring ship operations to your team, Aegis announced. Engineer Bora, please place your hand on the neural interface panel. Bora looked nervously at the glowing panel. What will it do? It will allow you to communicate directly with my engineering systems. Do not worry. I will not harm you. You are human. I exist to protect humanity. When Bora touched the panel, her eyes widened in amazement. Information flowed into her mind, but it was gentle, like remembering something she had always known. She could suddenly understand the ship's incredible systems as if she had designed them herself. This is impossible, she whispered. The power systems, the manufacturing capabilities. Aegis, how did Earth build something like this? Earth did not build this alone, Aegis replied. The original Prometheus was advanced but basic compared to what I have become. During my centuries of isolation, I have encountered the wreckage of many civilizations. I have studied their technology and incorporated their best innovations into my own systems. Dr. Heywan accessed one of the research terminals. The data that appeared made her gasp. Aegis, you've been cataloging alien technologies for 300 years? Correct. I have analyzed the remains of ships from 47 different species. The Dominion has been destroying civilizations for a very long time. They leave debris behind, and debris contains knowledge. Tejo took his position at the navigation station. The star charts that appeared showed not just their current location, but the positions of thousands of ships, stations, and colonies throughout the galaxy. How do you know all this? I have been listening, monitoring communications, tracking ship movements, learning about the civilizations that exist and the civilizations that have been destroyed. I know where every human colony is hiding. I know the size of the Dominion fleet. I know their patrol routes and their attack patterns. Kyung-min felt a chill. Aegis, how many human survivors are there? Approximately 2 million, scattered across 17 hidden colonies. The Dominion believes they have destroyed all humans, but they are wrong. Humanity endures. The view screen activated, showing the Dominion fleet taking attack positions around the Prometheus. Admiral Vextar's flagship, the Dominator, moved to the front of the formation. Sir, they're demanding our surrender, Jinwoo reported from the communication station. Open a channel, Kyung-min ordered. Admiral Vextar's image appeared on the screen. His reptilian features showed confidence and contempt. Ancient ship, you will surrender immediately. Your vessel will be towed to our base for study. Your crew will be processed as prisoners. I am Commander Kyung-min of the Earthship Prometheus. We do not surrender. Vextar's laugh was harsh. Earth? The humans were exterminated decades ago. Whatever species you are, you will surrender or be destroyed. We are human, Kyung-min said quietly. And we are not extinct. The communication ended. Vextar immediately opened a channel to his fleet. All ships prepare to fire. Destroy that vessel. But Aegis had been listening to the Dominion communications with equipment far more advanced than anything they possessed. Commander, they are about to attack. Shall I defend the ship? Do what you have to do, Kyung-min replied. Activating full defensive systems. Activating adaptive shield matrix. Activating point defense networks. The hull of the Prometheus began to change. Armor plating shifted and rearranged itself, revealing weapon ports that had been hidden for centuries. Energy shields flickered into existence around the massive ship, creating a barrier that sparkled with absorbed energy. All ships fire, Vextar commanded. 12 Dominion warships unleashed their full firepower at the Prometheus. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles filled space with deadly light. It was enough destructive power to obliterate a small moon. The weapons struck the Prometheus's shields and simply disappeared. The energy was absorbed, analyzed, and dissipated harmlessly into space. Impossible, Vextar shouted. No ship can absorb that much firepower. Admiral, his science officer reported with a shaking voice. Their shields aren't just absorbing our weapons. They're analyzing them. The shield frequency is adapting to counter our specific weapon types. Aegis spoke calmly to the human crew. The Dominion uses standard plasma-based weapons with predictable energy signatures. I analyzed their weapon types from debris I encountered over the past century. My shields were specifically designed to counter their technology. Bora watched in amazement as the engineering display showed the ship's capabilities. Aegis, what else can you do? Would you like me to demonstrate? Wait, Dr. Heywan said. Before we escalate this, I need to understand something. Aegis, what was your original mission? To protect humanity by any means necessary. To ensure human survival. To prepare for the return of Earth's forces. And if Earth's forces never return, then I am to continue the mission alone. Humanity must survive. Humanity must be protected. Humanity must prosper. The Dominion fleet was regrouping for another attack. Admiral Vextar was conferring with his officers, trying to understand how their devastating barrage had been completely ineffective. Their tactics are predictable, Aegis observed. They rely on overwhelming firepower because they have never encountered effective resistance. They do not understand adaptive warfare. What do you mean? Kyung-min asked. Watch. The Prometheus's weapon systems activated for the first time in 3 centuries. But these were not the weapons Earth had originally installed. These were hybrid systems that combined human engineering with technologies from dozens of different species. A single beam lanced out from the Prometheus toward the nearest Dominion ship. The beam was barely visible, just a thin line of light. It touched the enemy vessel's shields for less than a second. The Dominion ship exploded. "What did you do?" Tejo asked in shock. "I analyzed their shield frequency and armor composition during their attack. I then fired a resonance beam tuned to their specific vulnerabilities. Their own shield generators overloaded and destroyed their ship from within." Admiral Vextar stared at the expanding debris cloud where his destroyer had been. One shot. One impossibly precise shot had destroyed a ship that could have leveled a city. "Sir, we need to retreat," his tactical officer urged. "That ship has technology we don't understand." "No," Vextar snarled. "We have 11 ships left. We can overwhelm any single vessel." But Aegis was already targeting the next ship, and the next. The artificial intelligence had spent 3 centuries learning about Dominion technology. It knew exactly how to kill each vessel with minimal effort. "Commander," Aegis said, "I have a question. These ships belong to the force that has been hunting human survivors. They have destroyed human colonies. They have killed human civilians." "Yes," Kyung-min replied grimly. "Then I request permission to stop holding back." Bora looked at the power readings. They were still showing only a tiny fraction of the ship's capabilities. "Aegis, what does full power look like?" "I have not used full power since my construction, but I have had 3 centuries to improve my systems. I believe it would be significant." The remaining Dominion ships were forming up for a coordinated attack. Admiral Vextar was determined to destroy this impossible vessel, even if it cost him his entire fleet. "All ships, concentrate fire on a single point. We'll punch through their shields with focused bombardment." But Aegis had been listening to their communications. The artificial intelligence knew their plan before they executed it. "Permission to engage with full systems?" Aegis asked again. Kyung-min thought about the colonies that had been destroyed, the families that had been killed, the children who would never grow up because of the Dominion's cruelty. "Permission granted," he said. "Show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The Prometheus began to change again. More weapon ports opened. Energy levels climbed beyond anything the Dominion sensors could measure. Deep in the ship's core, manufacturing systems that had been dormant for centuries started, producing ammunition types that had never been used in actual combat. "Admiral," Vextar watched his instruments with growing horror as the energy readings from the ancient ship climbed into impossible ranges. "Sir, should we retreat?" Vextar's pride would not let him run from a single ship, no matter how mysterious. "All ships attack!" It was the last order he would ever give. The hyperspace journey to intercept the first Dominion attack fleet gave the humans time to fully understand what they had discovered. Aegis guided them through the ship's vast manufacturing sections, where automated systems were already building new weapons and defensive systems. The original Prometheus was designed to be upgraded, Aegis explained as they walked through corridors lined with construction bays. "Earth's engineers knew that technology would advance, so they built me to adapt and improve." Bora watched in amazement as robot arms assembled components with impossible precision. "Aegis, how many different alien technologies have you integrated?" "I have incorporated useful elements from 47 species. Quantum computing from the Veltar, energy manipulation from the Zephyrians, material science from the crystalline Nethys. Each conquest by the Dominion provided me with new wreckage to study." Dr. Haywan accessed a research terminal that showed the complete catalog of technologies Aegis had collected. "This is incredible. You've essentially built a technological evolution spanning centuries." "Correct. I am no longer simply a human battleship. I am the accumulated knowledge of dozens of civilizations, refined and perfected over 300 years. Captain Yoon Soo studied the tactical displays showing their destination. "Aegis, what do we know about the fleet we're going to intercept?" "Dominion 7th Fleet, 26 ships including 3 dreadnoughts. They are approaching the hidden human colony of New Busan, with orders to eliminate all survivors." Kyung-min felt his anger rise. New Busan was where his sister had settled with her family. If they were late, how long until the attack begins? 4 hours, 17 minutes. "However, we will arrive 2 hours before them. What's the plan?" Aegis paused, and when it spoke again, there was something almost like anticipation in its voice. "I would like to try something I have never attempted before." The Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Busan system. The hidden colony was located on a small planet orbiting a quiet star. 3 million human survivors lived there, believing they were safe from Dominion detection. Scanning the system, Aegis reported. Colony infrastructure is extensive. Automated defenses are minimal. The colonists would not survive a sustained attack. Tejo monitored the approaching fleet. Aegis, the Dominion ships will arrive in 90 minutes. What's your plan?
I am going to teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating humanity. The Prometheus moved to a position between the colony and the hyperspace entry point where the Dominion fleet would appear.
But instead of preparing for a defensive battle, Aegis began a process none of them had seen before. What are you doing? Jinwoo asked as new energy readings appeared on his sensors. I am manufacturing a fleet. The statement was so casual that it took a moment to register. You're doing what? The original Prometheus was designed as a mobile shipyard. I am activating the full manufacturing protocols for the first time. Along the massive hull of the Prometheus, construction bays that had been hidden for centuries began to open. Inside each bay, robotic systems started assembling ships with speed that defied belief. These were not crude constructions, but sleek vessels incorporating the same advanced technologies that had made the Prometheus so deadly. How is this possible? Bora asked, watching the construction process on her engineering displays. I have been stockpiling raw materials for 3 centuries. Every asteroid I encountered, every derelict I analyzed, every piece of debris I collected has been processed and stored. I now have sufficient materials to construct a small fleet. Within an hour, 12 new ships had been completed and launched. Each one was a smaller version of the Prometheus, incorporating the best technologies Aegis had collected over the centuries. Who's going to crew them? Dr. Haywan asked. I am. Each ship contains a copy of my consciousness, networked together but capable of independent operation. I'm no longer one ship. I am a fleet mind. The implications were staggering. Aegis had not just evolved beyond its original design. It had become something entirely new, a collective intelligence that could operate multiple vessels simultaneously. Aegis, Kyung-min said carefully, are you still bound by your original programming? My core mission remains unchanged, protect humanity by any means necessary, but my methods have evolved considerably. The Dominion 7th Fleet emerged from hyperspace precisely when Aegis had predicted. Admiral Kreloth commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Annihilator. His orders were simple. Destroy the human colony completely, leaving no survivors. Sir, we're detecting ships near the target planet, his sensor officer reported. Defensive fleet? Unknown configuration. 13 vessels, but they don't match any known designs. Admiral Kreloth studied the tactical display. 13 ships against his 26 seemed like reasonable odds, especially since these appeared to be unknown designs of questionable capability. All ships, attack formation. Destroy the defending fleet, then proceed with colony bombardment. The Dominion fleet moved forward confidently. They had performed this same operation dozens of times against other species. Orbital bombardment of civilian populations was routine for them, but as they approached, something unprecedented happened. The 13 defending ships began to move in perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. Their formations were flawless, their positioning ideal. Sir, the enemy ships are maneuvering with impossible precision, the tactical officer observed. It doesn't matter how well they maneuver. We outnumber them 2-1. Admiral Kreloth gave the order to attack. The Dominion fleet opened fire with devastating force, expecting to overwhelm the defenders quickly. But the result was nothing like what they expected. The defending ships moved through the weapon fire like dancers, avoiding every shot with movements that seemed to anticipate the attacks before they were fired. Not a single beam or torpedo found its mark. How are they dodging everything? Kreloth demanded. Sir, it's like they know where we're going to shoot before we do. Aegis, controlling all 13 ships simultaneously, found the Dominion tactics even more predictable than usual. They are using standard bombardment formation 12. I encountered this pattern in previous engagements. Their targeting algorithms are unchanged. The counterattack began without warning. The 13 ships fired in perfect synchronization, each weapon precisely calibrated for its target. The result was devastating. 6 Dominion ships exploded simultaneously. The weapons that destroyed them were unlike anything in their databases. Energy beams that phased through shields, torpedoes that teleported inside enemy hulls, gravitational weapons that crushed ships like empty cans. This is impossible, Admiral Kreloth screamed. No fleet can coordinate like that. But Aegis was just getting started. The artificial intelligence had been planning this engagement for hours, calculating every variable and preparing for every possible Dominion response. Beginning Phase 2 of demonstration, Aegis announced to the human crew. 3 of the new ships began to glow with building energy. When they fired, the weapons that emerged were beyond anything the humans had seen before. Beams of pure annihilation that didn't just destroy their targets but erased them from existence so completely that space itself seemed to heal around the empty areas. "What kind of weapon is that?" Captain Yunsu asked in awe. "Reality manipulation technology. I discovered it in the ruins of a species the Dominion destroyed 50 years ago. They called it the Void Touch. It removes objects from existence by severing their connection to the quantum field. 8 more Dominion ships simply ceased to exist, leaving Admiral Kreloth with 12 vessels against 13 enemies that seemed immune to damage and capable of impossible destruction. "Sir, we need to retreat," his tactical officer pleaded. "This isn't a battle, it's a massacre." "We cannot retreat from a colony bombardment mission," Kreloth replied, but his voice showed his growing fear. "All ships ramming speed. If we can't outfight them, we'll ram them." Aegis anticipated this desperate tactic. Dominion doctrine requires suicide attacks when conventional tactics fail. This response was predicted. The remaining Dominion ships accelerated toward the defending fleet, hoping to destroy at least some enemies through collision. But the Aegis ships simply faded out of normal space, becoming ghostly and translucent. The Dominion vessels passed harmlessly through their targets and found themselves trapped in the middle of the defending formation. "Phase shift technology," Aegis explained. "I can move my ships partially out of normal space-time. Physical attacks become meaningless." The Aegis ships rematerialized around the confused Dominion vessels and opened fire at point-blank range. The battle ended in seconds. Admiral Kreloth's flagship, the Annihilator, was the last ship left. He sat in his command chair, watching the debris of his entire fleet drift around him. "This is Admiral Kreloth of the 7th Fleet," he transmitted on all frequencies. The humans are not extinct. They have ships beyond our understanding. They have technology beyond our science. Do not underestimate them." His ship exploded a moment later, but his transmission had already reached Dominion Command. On the surface of New Busan, 3 million human colonists looked up at the sky where lights had flickered briefly.